All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Long Distance Pizza Party podcast, episode 59. I almost said 69. We're not quite there yet. There's a couple episodes we should be ahead of. It'd be funny if we were like 67 or something like that when that meme was relevant. If it's still relevant, I don't know. I think it's finally starting to die. For my mom's a teacher and she always has to hear it, so she's always complaining about. She's like, I don't understand it. I'm like, just ignore it. It's better for you to ignore it than just
on the hill
get
if it's
aggravated.
dying.
Yeah. But yeah, we have a guest with us today, John the Messenger. If you've probably seen him floating around in your TikTok or Instagram feed. I think I came across you. Like I think when I first downloaded TikTok, the first time, maybe the second time I downloaded, because I got rid of it at one point because I got frustrated with like early on TikTok. And your stuff just showed up, and I was like, let's fill my feed with something that's more positive than whatever was going on TikTok. You know, it's at least worth watching. But welcome on.
Thank you so much.
There was a little behind. I somehow goofed. The guys will find this funny because I always have this problem. I actually double booked guests, and I'm like, crap. I was like, I didn't know because I have it all in an Excel sheet, and I'm like, for episode ideas. Or like with guests, and I goofed something in Excel where it like kept putting the same date over and over again, and I just wasn't paying attention to it. And thankfully, unfortunately, something happened. The other one, they had to move stuff, which it worked out in the long run. But I'm like, crap, I don't want to have to move anyone. Thankfully, it like assuaded itself. Yeah, John, you want to tell us a little about your content and introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. It's funny that you asked that question because I was talking with my wife tonight and she said, what would you classify your
Hmm.
content as? And I like paused and it like took me a second. I think that if you had to classify it, I think it's pretty safe to do like I think like Christian satire is probably a good way to describe it. But I also think just like Christian culture is something that fascinates me. And so there's a lot of just a lot of things within that I comment on. And I think over the last probably year or so, I've done a lot more. I guess you could say more just like straightforward, kind of serious Bible study type things. So it honestly it depends on the week and it depends on what's going on and what's going on in the world and all that. But I think I actually really appreciate what you said at the beginning because one of the reasons that I started on TikTok and then kind of branched out from there. But one of the reasons I started doing it was I thought, man, how cool would it be to just be like the reason that someone smiles during the day? Like, like I just thought there was something so cool about even in like a 15-second video, to be able to just do that, for someone. So that's really how it started. And it didn't even start as like Christian content. And it's just kind of morphed into that through the years. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been doing a lot on TikTok and I've been trying to do more on Instagram recently. And a little bit on Facebook, but Facebook's a whole different it's a whole different thing. And so I'm seeing what I can do on there. But yeah, I think that kind of gives an overview. You're going to find a little bit of everything of those of those subjects, but that I think that gives a good picture.
Yeah, it is. It's very frustrating when you're supposed to be doing cross-platform because each social media is very different. Which in my head, it's weird with Facebook and Instagram because they're the same company
Yeah,
in
you can
like weird
post at the same
way.
time for both.
Yes, but I don't understand why both metrics wouldn't be the same if they're the same, like using similar resources. I think it's something about Instagram. People gravitate more towards like Facebook is seen as the old person social media because it's the old one of the oldest ones out there, and then Instagram. I think it's just its feel and aesthetic. It's like pre TikTok.
Yes, that's a good way to say it. Yeah. I think Facebook has been interesting because I tried to do like a separate page for a while, and then I was a little bit convicted on that where I was like, okay, why would I have like a separate place where I'm doing all of my like Christian content, and then on my personal page I'm not doing that. And so I just kind of started posting my content on Facebook, which was on my own just personal one that I've had for, I mean, since Facebook was a thing, you know, like
Mhm.
since it started basically. um and that was kind of a scary jump because I there were a
Yeah.
lot of people on there that didn't necessarily know that I was doing content like that. And so it's a different thing to like create a video or to create content and you put it out for a bunch of people that you don't necessarily know and you don't know who's going to see it, and like there's something feels safer about that. But whenever I'm putting it out there for people that like I went to high school with, or I, you know, like all of these different things. So the Christian part is fine. Like that's not a surprise to anyone, but it's like, why is John doing this lip sync video? I've never, you know, like they don't know me as that. So, but I have found that when my on Facebook, a lot of the times when I'm getting comments, I feel bad. It's very stereotypical, but it's from the older generation, and so I'm
Mhm.
just like, okay, well, I don't think that they really get what I'm doing here. So yeah, it's been interesting. I've really enjoyed Instagram because it seems like it just gets pushed out a lot more. And like the video doesn't necessarily have to do really well at the beginning for it to be pushed out to more people. So yeah, it's a learning curve for sure. I think TikTok has kind of remained my bread and butter, but I'm enjoying the other platforms too.
Yeah, it's man, I used to not that I didn't like social media. When I started doing content stuff, it really just started. I needed like an outlet in college. Like I needed a creative outlet because I hated school so much, and like I just kept doing it. Like there's something fun about it, about when you're creating. I don't know if you have like so with your content, like you're saying week to week, trying to keep up with trends. Like there's like a not like a fun with it. Like sometimes it's daunting because you want to keep with every trend and you don't want to miss it. I don't know if you've ever had like that feeling.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, because as far as trends go, like there was a long time where I was trying to do like different using different audios and trending audios and things like that, which I'll still do every once in a while. But for me now, and you said like it that's one of the reasons I realized that I really enjoyed doing it was because it was an outlet. Like it was a like I just loved getting on and creating something. And so I think the challenge for me now, or what I really enjoy, is trying to keep up with not necessarily like trends in terms of audios or like specific videos, but trends like as far as like just what's happening in the world, or specifically what's happening kind of within Christian culture, Christian music, things like that. Um, and that is a challenge because first of all, there are a lot of other people doing that. And so like sometimes I'll have something stored away and I just wait too long and then someone gets on and pretty much does the joke that I was going to
Mhm.
do, or I, you know, something like that. So that's where it can become difficult for me is just getting on it soon enough because like I have four kids. We're busy. I don't necessarily have like dedicated time every day to figure things out. So yeah, but it's fun. Like that's the thing for me. I think that's where I check myself a lot is like whenever it stops being fun and I start thinking about it too much, um, I know that I need to like take a step back and be like, okay, let's remember like why we're doing this a little bit. But yeah, I enjoy the outlet so much, and it lets me just get thoughts into the world, you know, and sometimes that's more therapeutic for me than anything. And then if other people latch onto it, then that's awesome.
Well, you haven't had to do as many, hey, this is satire explanations lately.
Yeah, doing satire, that the badge of honor, or like the way that I know a satire video is doing well is the first time that I have to tell someone that it's satire. Like if I can get it close enough that it's believable, then I know that things are going well. But one of the things I've really enjoyed is being, I mean, I started on TikTok, it was during the pandemic. Well, I mean, I think that's where a lot of people started, and I've had people that have kind of been with me through, through all of that. And so one of my favorite things now is that I don't even have to say it to people anymore. Like people will comment something and then I will have someone else in the comment section say to them like, this is a joke, it's satire, it's not, so I don't even have to police it as much anymore. But I still love that. It's still one of my favorite things. Like if I can get something close enough that it's believable, then I know that I'm on the right track for sure.
Does it fulfill for you like this trolling nature because it is satire? Like you get like the fun of seeing the comments of how people are confused or they're like they get the joke.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's a fine line, right? Like I don't, I a term that's been used with me a lot has been like rage baiting, which I don't think of it as that. Like I'm not doing it to try to get that reaction from people. Um, but there is a part of me that's like, and maybe that's the outlet part of it too, where it's like it's kind of a safe place or a safe way to do that rather than getting on and just outright saying like, I can't believe that people like this thing, or I can't believe that this is actually happening. And I think that's the great thing about satire is that like you're talking about something very serious in a joking way, and so there are layers to it that aren't just like here's a joke. But yeah, it definitely scratches an itch in that way, that I'm able to, because that's, for someone like me, and that's where a lot of my humor comes from, is like growing up, I was just incredibly insecure, and so humor was a way for me to deal with that. And that's where a lot of my humor developed. And so there's still a little part of that that's like, okay, I could say this thing. Like I have this thing in my brain that I know would work really well and that you would not be happy with. But instead of that, let me try to morph it into something that's maybe a little bit healthier. But again, it's just the challenge of it too. Like I just enjoy trying to find that lane that is going to work.
Oh yeah, like it's really funny, especially with satire. Like there's several like I want to say that it's like church media, like church satire that some people take really seriously because I don't know if people know this, but in church there like you have some of the most like judgmental not judgmental. There's some in church that are
That's
very
mental.
very judgmental, and then there's some that like get the joke, and
Hmm.
it's funny to see um that like that dichotomy with it. I think there, especially now on social media, there are more Christian based content where they celebrate the fun of the church, but like they make fun of it or they tell stories. Like there's Youth Group Chronicles. Like some
Hmm.
of the stories you hear, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
there's no way that happens. But then you start doing ministry in any capacity, and then like you're like, oh no, this stuff does happen.
Yeah.
A lot of those reels get sent to the lady that does our kids ministry, and she's like, I hope this doesn't happen. And I list off several kids this could happen with. She's like, you just jinxed it, which is
Yeah.
like always fun.
Yeah, I think that, and that's one thing that I kind of pride myself on too, is that because I've had people, I mean, honestly, I've had people online like that I don't know. I've had people that I do know, like even in my personal life, take issue with a video that I've made here or there. Um, but I've said, numerous times I've said, it's not that I'm not making satire videos or jokes about one group. I mean, it's like it's whoever, including people that I identify with under my own little umbrella in this sect of Christianity. And so like it for me, it's never like, oh, I'm really gonna stick it to this one group and this is what all my content's gonna be about. Um, but it's always funny to me too that like it people find the jokes funny until it's about them. Like that's always something that I found. And I really think that like if you can't laugh at yourself or you can't recognize the humor in whatever group you're a part of, then you might be holding on to that a little too tightly. Um, and yeah, and then the other really funny thing with that I found is that people, instead of going after the message of the joke, will come after just the or the mess instead of the message of the video, they'll come after the method of the video. And so they'll start attacking like the comedy angle or satire, like why would you do that, whatever. When really at the base of it, they're just not happy with what the message was, but like they don't want to address that part of it. And so, yeah, I think that the whole idea of jokes are funny until they're about you is like something that a lot of people struggle with. And I, yeah, I try to not hold back in terms of any group. I think there's always something within whatever group you're talking about that you can find something with. And yeah, so it's sometimes that's difficult, but sometimes I'm also just like, yeah, it's a joke. Like you don't have to like the joke. That's okay. You also don't have to tell me you don't like the joke. You could just keep moving on. That would probably be easier for everyone. So, yeah.
But where would the drama be in that?
Of course.
Well, yeah, it, I mean, it's what
I'm
it's how we're conditioned now. It's
yeah.
like let's just fight about things, and that's been actually the other really cool thing. And people don't realize this. I've maybe talked about it a couple times in a video, but I've had some like legitimately really good interactions with people that don't agree with me based on something like again, that's one of the things that I love about the satire is that it can open the door to a more serious issue, and so like I've done videos in the past on like worship groups, worship lyrics, things like that. And I've had some really great interactions with people who at the very least came out of it saying like, I don't agree with what you're saying, but it did make me pay more attention to the lyrics that we were singing on Sunday morning. And I'm like, great. Like that's fantastic. And the best way to do that I found is when someone comments and is really angry, if you can just extend grace to them and not respond the same way, it completely diffuses the entire situation. Like because they think they're coming into the comment section to fight with me, and I'm just like, no, no, that's totally like we don't need to do that. And you can tell people immediately. Like I've had numerous people say like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that. I just, like they just thought they were coming to a gunfight." And so again, it's a cool interaction that you can have through through the content. Like that's great, but then it can open doors to other things, which is a really cool thing.
You will kill them with kindness, huh?
Yeah, I try. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm perfect in that, and sometimes it depends. I sometimes I kind of have to read the room a little bit, and as much as the next person, I can get caught up in going back and forth with someone, and in the middle of it, realize like, oh, this is going nowhere, and so I, kind of lay that aside, um, but also I really enjoy being right. So I chase that sometimes and without realizing stupidly that no one is gonna in the comment section, no one has ever said, "Oh man, you talked me into it." Like that's just not something that happens. So once it devolves enough, I just kind of let it slide. But I try to extend grace as much as I can.
Yeah, you kind of have to. It's like choosing your battles. We've gotten a couple comments on clips, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna respond. If I do, it's not gonna go anywhere. Thankfully, Doc has responded to a couple comments, way better than I could. If I did it, it'd be. I wouldn't say it's more reactionary. It'd be the part of me that wants to see how long I can make it run, and that's probably not the best idea. So thankfully, Doc's left a couple comments that I hopefully that's let the person think a little bit before criticizing content.
Yeah.
The funniest content we got was on Facebook about Crad looking like Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny.
I saw the comment. I was like, I don't know how to respond, and then Silly kept bringing it up in our internal Discord chat, And I'm like, okay, this is kind of funny because Crowd out of all of us has got like the most comments about his appearance on like clips. I don't know why. It Crad,
And forming
I,
the fan club. What can I
I
say?
something. I don't know what it is.
They're
They're
paying
Um,
jealous of the beard.
attention.
yeah, well, it's either you look like Donkey Kong, or you look like you're gonna eat one of them. That's another comment that who got. I was like, okay, this is weird. When you just go, that's when you just like the comment. You're like, this is kind of funny, and you just kind of move on with your day. Um, go. We do have guest questions. I usually try to bring up, and you kind of were going into it, John. You're talking about what denomination do you usually or do you like associate with?
Yeah, so I'm in the PCA, which is Presbyterian Church in America. Um, so I'm a youth director at a church in the PCA. I am not currently now, but was a elder in in the church. And so for people that don't know, because this is another funny thing to me, is like whenever you tell someone your denomination, you still have to clarify like where in the, like whether you say Methodist or Presbyterian or Baptist. There's so many different things that could mean now. So we're definitely on the more conservative end of theology. So I think like if you think like the PCUSA is the big one that's like very liberal in their theology. And so we're kind of on the other end of that. Not quite like there's also Reform Presbyterian, which is even more kind of conservative theologically. But yeah, that's where we're at. It's funny. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I've seen it multiple times with Christian creators like not wanting to say what denomination they're a part of. Um,
Hmm.
which is I respect that and I can understand that, but at the same time I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with it. Like there's no part of that I think I need to like keep a secret. And I recognize that people different people fall different places along there. But yeah, I was born and raised. That's where I was born and raised. I spent a little bit of time in the EPC, which is Evangelical Presbyterian Church, but yeah, PCA is pretty much where I've always been.
Yeah, I can see where they're coming from. Like, but it's odd trying to explain when you're explaining to new people, like when you're a Christian, like they don't understand some of that phrasage, and like I feel like sometimes in church some of that phrasage needs reworded because like when you're internally in church, like you hear all these phrases so you don't think about it until you're talking to someone who's never like experienced church or maybe had a wrong experience and you're trying to like give them the right experience and it's all weird to them. The the funny thing, whenever I've tried to explain this to people, I'm in the Pentecostal church, Church of God, uh, and
Yeah.
some guy looked at me. He's like, so you're a pescatarian? And it took me a sec because I wasn't thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, he's confusing something else, totally completely different. But he doesn't know like that phrasage. Like he doesn't understand. There's Pentecostals, Presbyterians, Baptists. Like it's
Yeah.
all and where they all fit in, like this weird puzzle.
The
Hmm.
And
Christianese.
yeah, the Christianese. It's
Now,
funny, but
Nathaniel does
also
handle
it's a
snakes,
little
though.
humbling.
We'll let you know that Nathaniel handles snakes in his church. But
You don't handle snakes at my church?
no, I'm just playing with you. He doesn't.
I was like, that was you. That was you. No, we have had snakes in the church for church events, but
See? Well, I tell you.
yeah, there you go.
Technically not wrong. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Uh, do you have any? Because we did a whole episode about this, talking about like church stories. Do you have like a funny church story?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I mean, this is the one that jumps to mind. So whenever I was I was a youth director years ago at a church in Ohio, um, and we had a guest. So our pastor had left, and so we had people coming in that were filling the pulpit each week. So there was this older guy. The sanctuary at the time could hold like 500 people, and on a Sunday morning we had like 90 people coming. So it was you couldn't hide there, right? And we had this guy, and he started talking about the song "Lord, I Lift Your Name on High."
Oh no.
And I could see where he was going, right? And so he started talking about this. First of all, he started talking about it as if it was still like a new song. Like this was 10 years ago, and even at that point, it
Yeah,
was
it was
30 years old, right? And so he started saying there were hand motions to this, and I was like, oh no, and so he said to the crowd of maybe 90 people, does anyone know the hand motions to this? And I'm sitting like near the front, and I just like I can already read the writing on the wall here because it was also an older church, and so a lot of older people.
Ah,
And so I just knew like I was, there was like neon lights above me, and so no one raises their hand, obviously. No one's volunteering for this. And so he like points me out. I'm like 7 rows back. And then he also points out one of my youth kids to come up. And so we're standing up front, and I literally like leaned over to him, and it may be the most sincere I've ever been. I leaned over to this kid, and I said, "I'm so sorry. Like, I am so sorry that this is happening right now." And we had to do it because, like, what else? What else?
what else you do? Yeah.
What was I going to do? Say no? I'm not going to do it. So that was, I mean, it had to be close to the most terrified I've ever been in a church service for sure. Yeah, I think that's probably the best one. I'm sure there are other things, but that one was a tough one.
Is it
That's
bad that I'm trying
funny.
to remember the hand motions now?
Yeah, and that was the other problem is I legitimately did. I mean, I had done them plenty, but it wasn't like a immediate
Yeah.
recall type thing. So, um, not only did I get up to do them, I ended up not doing them very well. But yeah,
Nice.
I didn't. We may have even started moving towards the back of the sanctuary at that point.
You're like, hope the exit door's unlocked. Here's
Yeah, it was bad. It was a
that's
bad time.
that's funny. That's
So the exit stage
awesome.
left.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I'm sure you've been in those situations where it's just like I would do anything to not be here right now. Like I
Oh
would,
yeah.
if I could just teleport out of here, then I absolutely would. And also like I was kind of mad at the guy too. Like as someone who has done speaking different places and even being able to preach a little bit, like just forcing people into that situation. I'm like, dude, this is not, you're also a guest here. Like it's not like we know who you are. So yeah, there were a lot of emotions going into that, and yeah, joy was not one of them. So
Yeah, doing anything on stage in the church, especially if you know those people and you've been around them like long periods of time, it's very daunting. We had to do a Christmas program. Was this last year's, and they're like, "You're gonna have a part in it for the kids chunk of it." I'm like, "Fine, give me my lines, I'll memorize it." I'm getting everything memorized, and we get to the day, and with any church event, the kids are kind of rowdy. You're telling them to sit in a hallway and be quiet. So I'm like trying to do that. I'm trying to remember my lines, and it's like the week before Christmas, so I'm busy. I worked at a receiving position, so I was busy, around Christmas time. And I get up on stage, and I just forget every single line I was supposed to remember in front of everyone. And I can see my pastor. He's off to the side. He's like, I'm like, this is great. So I can feel behind me. The lady is our church ministry. She slides the script into my back pocket, so I played it off like it was in, like it worked out. People thought it was funny, but every single line, I was so frustrated, and I was like,
brutal.
and it was more of me like in the moment, not focusing, because I'm like trying to do three different things. Not at the
Sure.
kids. I was getting frustrated with because they weren't behaving, even though I wanted to blame it on them, it wasn't their fault. They're just kids. They can do their stuff way more than I did. But it's like the fun stuff because like people still bring it up. I have a shirt somewhere. I should have wore it because I had to play an angel, and kids kept mispronouncing my name, so we just put an angel. So we just threw an N on it and just ran it as a
An
joke.
angel.
I love that.
So kids just refer to me that now. I'm not even Nathan anymore. So it's like you can
That's
have
great.
fun with it, and it's like a fun memory now at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So our other guest question is being the long distance pizza party podcast. I'm surprised Crad usually he has to help bring in guest
Oh,
questions.
I was waiting for it. Like if you didn't
You were
say it, I was
waiting
about to
for it.
say it.
There we go.
I was about to say it.
There you go. But do you have like a favorite pizza or like a pizza chain?
Ooh. Uh, so I really enjoy, I guess you would call them like specialty pizzas, but I enjoy like a really good um either barbecue or
Mm.
buffalo chicken pizza. But the one that maybe is a little further out there. So the backstory to this is my wife and I were hanging out with friends of ours at one point, and my wife is not one. Neither am I. Like we don't enjoy being the one to call and order the pizza. It's similar to what you just said. Like I feel like as soon as the person hang or picks up, I completely forget like what a pizza is and what you're supposed to do when you're talking to these people. So we kind of forced my wife to call, and so she's on the phone and she's like, "What kind of toppings do you guys want?" And I one person said mushrooms, and another person said banana peppers, and so she took that as this is what we want on our pizza together.
All
Um,
together.
we ended up
Oh.
getting a mushroom and banana pepper pizza, which we thought was hilarious, and also thought like, there's no way we're going to eat this. But we actually really enjoyed it, and so now every once in a while, we'll get that. We will get a pizza that has that on it, and I will always text my friends, and I'm like, just so you know, like we're still doing this. I don't know if you guys have done this again, but um, yeah, I so pizza for me is a big like it was one of well, there were a lot of things that were we just moved a couple years ago, which not far. It was only like an hour away. But one of the sad things in moving was like we had a pizza spot where we were that we like loved. And we haven't really, I mean, there's some good pizza spots around here, like there are some chains and stuff, but we haven't found that like local place that we really love. So yeah, we take it. I don't want to say we take it super seriously, but I pizza is one of those things that like I want it to be good. Like I'm not like, oh, pizza's pizza. Like I want it to if I'm eating pizza, I want it to be a good one.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so there's a second part to this question, which may be the most controversial part of the whole thing, because you didn't bring it there in the first part. So I got to ask this: pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I this is going to be such I'm going to sound like a politician. Um I don't personally enjoy pineapple on pizza. It's not something that I will go out of my way to get or order. If I'm at someone's house and they have like a ham and pineapple pizza, I'm not going to be like, what is wrong with you? Like I will eat it. I don't think it's like disgusting, but it's not like when I think pizza, I don't think citrus. Maybe that's the best way to say it. So like I'm a very I would say well I don't want to say traditional because I do like like the buffalo chicken and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I enjoy that, but yeah the flavor notes of a pineapple are not what I think of when I think of pizza. So um I would say no, but that's like a very soft like I'm not trying to hate on anyone else. It's not for me.
Also, pineapple is one of those things where you're used to it either cold because it's in the can and it's in the fridge if you or out on the shelf, or it's like fresh pineapple and it's kind of room temperature, or maybe it's like been in the fridge a little bit. So it's off putting at first, I think, for a lot of people when it's warm because you're cooking on the pizza.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, warm. I mean,
Pineapple upside down cake.
yeah, it's not. I mean,
Oh,
I guess
there's also pineapple upside down cake.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. It's definitely not typical. I think honestly, whatever. I mean, because I think of like I'm trying to think when I've had pineapple with there was something else too. Maybe with like a baked ham or something like that. Where it would be, but yeah, I like when I think of pineapple, I'm thinking of like it. I'm thinking of it cold. So there's definitely something there where it's like, yeah, if it's warm, that feels a little weird.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's we've had multiple guests. I think they've been pretty positive in liking it. I think we've not had that straddling the fence, nor have we had a guest been like, no, I don't like pizza at all. We haven't made it awkward yet. Though
Yeah,
I
I don't think
say
we've ever
that,
found
and
a guest so far that's not like pizza in some form. Now I think about it.
pizza's one of those things. It's
Yeah.
just, everyone really likes it. Uh, Crad, did you have any questions?
One, I can appreciate some of the descriptions of your content, satire being one. One of my favorite scriptures is, "A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones." So I do appreciate the ability to poke fun at ourselves as Christians or outside of Christendom, so to speak. Do you find like your long form videos more successful or more short form for especially your satire pieces?
Yeah, I think the satire videos they they're kind of hit or miss. Like I would say like the biggest video that I've ever had was one of my satire videos. It was after the halftime show a couple years ago. And it was all about I was giving a bunch of different evidence for why it was actually a like satanic ritual. But it was like I started with like, okay, this kind of makes sense, or it could, and then it just got like progressively more and more ridiculous. And I think that that one cast such a wide net because there were so many different people that were interacting with it for one reason or another. So like the satire videos have to be longer. Like, they have to be longer form because you kind of have to set up what the joke is. And so I think a lot of the ones that I've had success on have probably been longer form,
Mhm.
especially more recently. Um, and but then again, like I've had a couple videos on Instagram in the last 2 or 3 months that have hit 1 million views, and they're super short, and I mean, it's awesome, but also a little frustrating. Like, also have nothing to do with my normal content. Like, they were literally videos that I was like, it just made me laugh. And it was stitching another video. So I think like one of them was a guy who made a video asking like, why are people backing into parking spots? Like, why are you doing that? And I stitched in and said, there are a lot of reasons to do that, but the most relevant is that it's the easiest way to show that I'm better than you. And it's just like, and that was it. And that just like, took off. So, it just depends. Like, I wish there are a lot of people out there that are a lot more knowledgeable on that stuff than I am. Like, I know that Instagram and TikTok both give you like, this is where people stopped watching. This is where they did this. I never look at it. Like, I'm not a student of the game in that way. Like, um, and it, and I don't really want to be. Like, again, like whenever I start thinking about it too much, my content gets worse. Like, and that's maybe the best way to say it. So I think a lot of my stuff is a little bit longer form now, but I still enjoy kind of the quick
Quick
hitters
hits.
are fun
Yeah.
too. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very frustrating thing with social media. The stuff that tends to do well is stuff when you're not really trying, when you're not thinking about it. And I and it's weird. And like it's the more relatable stuff seems to do well, but it's when you're not even trying to be relatable, like with like your parking, like that's relatable to a lot of people, but you're not doing it like 'cause that's like a trend or anything. You're just like, I'm gonna make a funny joke about it. Boom, it blows up. Like it's
Yeah. And it's such a both ends of the spectrum. There are so many feelings attached to that because you have things that maybe you didn't like work hard on at all, and it was just like I just randomly did this and it took off, which is awesome. But then you also have the like I've tried to lower my expectations as much as I can because there have been videos that I've made that like I had the idea, they were like I had to edit it, I had to put pictures in, I had to do whatever, and I post it thinking like, oh man, like this is gonna be a banger, and then it's like,
Nothing. Yeah.
nothing. There's just nothing that comes of it. So, um,
TikTok
yeah,
has
I
a
think that's
glitch and you
maybe that's
forget.
the hardest thing with the longer form stuff is that it does take more time. And even the videos where it's just me talking, very rarely is that one take. Like very rarely am
Mhm.
I just like record, talk for a minute and a half, and then I'm done. It's like it kind of builds as it goes. So there's a decent amount of time that are put into those ones.
So you mentioned there's one, no, you said on Instagram that had like over 1 million views. Not necessarily viewership, but what is like the one you can say, hey, I'm most proud of? That's something I really enjoyed doing and made a difference, or really
Wow.
surprised me, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it kind of depends on the category. Like I think as far as satire goes, so there are two that come to mind immediately. One, it's funny because they're both on kind of similar paths, but so I remembered as the Taylor Swift video because if you remember, it was 2 years ago. I think Usher was doing the halftime show, but Taylor Swift was there in attendance.
Yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
I know for sure that was a big part of it. Like I talked about specifically that she was there, and that's the reason that she was there was like to
Mhm.
oversee this halftime show. The other one was when what was it last year, 2 years ago when the eclipse was a thing? Like, do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Was that two
Uh,
years ago, or was
I
that one
mean,
year ago?
yeah, it was about that. Man, that thing was a gold mine. I did so much content based on that, but one of the things that I did was um, I I compared or I copied the line of the eclipse and then I made a very crude map of like a very rudimentary map that was supposed to be Dollar Generals that had opened in the last 5 years. And I put them all on the exact same line. And it was like I could have shown it to my, you know, 8-year-old, and he would have been like, Dad, this looks ridiculous. Like, there's no way that anyone's going to believe that this is actually real. But they did. And so like the video was like Dollar General knows something that we don't, and they've been opening up all these stores. Um, and that one was fun because it was just like that was one I could legitimately look at and say, like, this is mine. Like, no one else has done anything like this. This was just out of my brain, and I was really happy with that. So, as far as the satire stuff goes, I those ones are ones that jump to mind. Um, there are some other ones I've done that like I don't even know if they've really gotten out there, like, that they've blown up. But like I have a video pinned on my TikTok right now that I love that is just um, talking about the beauty of the gospel and looking specifically at the interaction that Jesus has with Peter in the garden. So right after Peter tries to kill the soldier and cuts his ear off, and Jesus looks at him, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically says like, "Don't you know that I could get out of this if I wanted to?" And when you recognize that, when you read the rest of that story, it completely changes the perspective on that because you're recognizing that everything that Jesus is going through, like he could stop at any point, and he chooses not to, and so anytime that like those are things that I love doing because a lot of times there are things that I'm either learning or recognizing in real time. And so it's really cool for me to get on and just kind of share things that I'm reading or I'm learning or I'm teaching, whatever it is, and to be able to put that out, to be able to put that out there. So that's the most rewarding thing for me is that like having people um, reach out just to say that a video has helped them in some way, whether it's just a funny thing, like I there's a good friend of mine, Hillary, who her I was trying to remember her tag on Joyful and Rising is her tag, and she just went through some like really, she just lost a child a year ago, and I had some comments from her on videos of just like things like, like I needed this laugh today, or things like that, where it's like, okay, yeah, this is cool. Like it's cool to be able to impact people in that way. So yeah, those are things that jump to mind immediately. I'm sure there are some other ones if I sat here and thought about it, but I'm proud of those ones for sure.
All right, great answer. Great answer. So, new year, you got any big plans you're thinking about for this year? Trying something new, something different?
Yeah, I mean, I for me, I'm really trying to, growing on Instagram is a big thing for me right now. Especially after the last couple, like, is TikTok going away or isn't it kind of thing. And so, trying to grow on there a little bit. And honestly, like I thoroughly enjoy doing things like this, and I that's one thing that um the short form stuff is a lot of fun. But I just enjoy having conversations with people, and so things like this is I'd love to do more like this. There's always that thought in the back of my mind of like starting my own podcast. And honestly, I should view it as a sign from the Lord that like multiple times my wife has told me, like, yeah, you should totally do that. And it's just something for me that it's a little bit daunting in terms of just keeping up with it, and then just the work that goes into doing that, and you guys know that. So yeah, I think anything for this year, I think is just trying to be more consistent, and trying to find time to do it and to dedicate time to it. But then also just finding different outlets, whether it's podcasts or I love going and speaking different places, whether it's for retreats or camps or schools or things like that. So that's always something that's kind of in the back of my mind in terms of, what kind of could be on the horizon with all of that.
Yeah,
I agree with
long.
you there. Sorry.
No, you're
Go
good. I'm
ahead.
just saying long form content. It's a frustrating thing, especially when it feels like every social media wants to do short form. Like they feel like they want to compete with TikTok, and
Yeah.
like they're still trying to chase this. And it's like YouTube really wants to do shorts. They've changed all their metrics where you like what you have to attain to get like monetization with short form content. And I think that what they have set is like it's attainable, but like it's such a high number. And then I don't know about Instagram how their what their metrics are, but it's like it's that 30-second bite, 15-second bite thing where it's like that you're 2 hours later, you're watching a bunch of these clips and you're just like, oh, I wasted 2 hours of my time. Versus a
Yeah.
long form video where it's like I could save it for later. I could save it for a car ride. I
Yeah.
could save it when I'm doing dishes or something like that. Like it's weird, and it's one thing I like about social media is just like seeing, maybe this video will do well, maybe it won't, or like it's I had a video. I'll do like fast food news clips of like stuff that's coming out. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna test something because I don't talk about like Christian religion. Like that's not where it shows up. This is where this shows up. I was like, you know what? Let's test something. Bryce Crawford's doing something drink related. Let's see if that does well. 10 million views. I'm like, holy crap. Okay. Interesting. That blew up a little bit more than I was expecting, and I tested it again because something else came out like a week after that. 20 views. And I'm like,
Yeah.
huh, there was something going on in the TikTok algorithm. I don't know what it was, but I was like, this is it. Like, it's interesting to see what'll do well. And like with you, like at this point, I've had like lower my expectation. And like, if I get frustrated, especially if I put especially a lot of work in a long form video and it doesn't do
Yeah.
well, and it's like annoying that I put like all this effort into it. Or like with a podcast, you for an hour episode, you get all cut 2 views, and then we have one that will get like 100 views, and it's like, okay, something's in that algorithm. We picked a weird week to do that, and it's weird. But then like back end, you see like the views crawl and climb. You're like, oh, okay. I had to wait like a week for it to get traction somewhere. It's just
Yeah.
it's a fun roller coaster of
Yeah.
with social media.
Yeah. And one thing for me too that I try to lean on is just the recognition that like it, it is really a cliche thing, but like recognizing that, man, if there are, if there are people out there that are legitimately enjoying what I'm doing, even if it isn't getting out to a million people. Like, like I've been posting stuff on Facebook and I'm literally, I'm putting videos on there that are getting 10 or 15 likes. Like it's just I'm still trying to figure that out. But I've had multiple people that I know, like personally, that have told me like, "Oh, I love the stuff that you're putting on Facebook." And for me it's like, "All right, great. Like that's awesome. That's worth it for me. I will keep doing it for you three people that are enjoying it." Uh, but it is, finding that line is tough where it's like, because I'll try not to get on a soapbox here, but I've heard a lot of Christian creators say something to the effect of, it's not about the views. I don't care how many views I get. I don't, and I want to respond to them and say, then just don't post anything. Like just send it to your friends. Like then what are you doing? And it is finding that line of like I don't want it to be all about the numbers. I don't want to do things because it's going to do numbers. I don't want that to be the decision making process. At the same time, like if I'm putting work into something, I want to see that thing do well. And that's not a bad thing. Like I think sometimes there's like some shame that's given out involved in that. It's like, no, like if you guys are putting work into a podcast, like yeah, you want people to hear it. If I'm doing a 3-minute video that I've edited and whatever, and it gets 20 views, like yeah, I'm glad that those 20 people maybe watched it, but like I want it to do well because it's something, that I've worked on. So yeah, I think that it's a tough line to walk, and you see people definitely that have gone over the edge in terms of like just clearly doing things and saying things because they'll get the views. And I don't want to go that far, but yeah, it's nice to see things that you create do well.
You were talking about um, enjoying public speaking. Do you find that like like there's like a difference when making content versus having to speak out in public? Do you find like a difference, or does it kind of like familiar to you because like you're essentially you're not editing yourself when you're doing public speaking?
Yeah, I think in there's definitely some similarities in terms of like, first of all, I mean, one of the things that I love about public speaking that I don't know that people really recognize is that it is because like I mentioned before, like I've always had issues with like insecurity. I'm for the most part, I would say I'm very much an introvert. Like I don't enjoy like I've said I would rather be on a stage in front of 1,000 people than walk into a room of 15 people that I don't know and just have to survive. Like and part of that is, the similarities between public speaking and social media is that I'm in control of that. Like I'm in control of that moment, and so the video that I'm making or being on stage speaking, like I can kind of do, what I need to do, and there's definitely a comfort level there. One of the things that I enjoy about speaking, that I don't get from social media is kind of the immediate reaction or even the interaction that I can have with people. And so, when I make a video, it's very much like this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm saying, and then I'm putting it out. Where if I'm speaking somewhere and something happens or something comes up or I remember something, or someone's reacting, or I could, like I can kind of change what I'm doing, or I can kind of change course a little bit. And it's a lot more relational. And so I think that's probably what I enjoy about both things. Like I enjoy being able to do the content, but then you don't necessarily get the relational aspect of it. But then I also enjoy the public speaking where something could go wrong. Like I'm not completely in control, and something could happen, or I could forget something, or whatever it is. But then there is that relational aspect, which I really enjoy. And yeah, so there are definitely some similarities for sure. But I think I don't know if my enjoyment of public speaking necessarily like helped me with social media, if that makes sense. I think I kind of
Hmm.
had to learn that on my own, on kind of its own thing.
Yeah, I think it's kind of God's funny joke. He kind of picks people that don't want to speak in front of people to speak in front of people. Like it's like you think Moses and other stuff like that. I personally had that experience. I don't know if anyone else has, because I would prefer not being in front of people and not talking to
Oh, really?
people. And especially in church, where I was like, I knew I wanted to do something in the church. I've grew up in church. My parents, or my mom did ministry. My grandparents were missionaries. So like I grew up around church a lot. So like I knew like I was going to be involved somehow in some way, shape, or form. And I was like, oh, I'll be on the sound team. I'll hide in a booth so no one has to see me or anything. And then I just had opportunities, and then I was doing work in kids camps, and then late as our kids ministry, he's like, my brother was doing it. Then he moved away to college. And then she's like, "Yeah, you're gonna help out. You're good with kids." I'm like, "Oh, well, there goes that. Me not. There goes any anonymity I have where I gotta be around a bunch of kids." But it's different with kids because you don't have to. You can be more relatable. It's not like adults.
For sure.
It's a weird thing, especially in church where you're around these people. Especially if you've been in there a long time in church, everyone knows you. Especially if they know you, like with me, since like I was like 5. So it's like weird, but I was totally fine doing kids camps because no one knew me.
Yeah.
But now it's reversed where I've done kids camp so long and everyone there knows me, where it's like this flip. Like I went to a church event and everyone was knew me there. And the lady does our kids ministry. She's like, "Why does everyone know you? Like everyone treats you like you're like the coolest guy on here." I'm like, I don't know. I think I just been around these people too long, and like I'm familiar to them. And it's like this funny thing where it's like, oh, you're not gonna hide. You're gonna be around all these people. You have to be socially outgoing around these people, and it's just like I guess God's way of working, where it's like, oh no, you have to be out there.
Yeah.
Like you're like some people, they're gonna be behind the scenes. Some people are gonna be at the forefront, and like it's kind of like that parable of not the parable, like that story of going towards the big like the bigger seat, like the at the table versus like the smaller seat in the corner. It's kind of like that in a weird way, and it's just funny seeing that progression.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I definitely know people similar to you that was just like this was never, you know, I never liked being in front of people, whatever. And I think I didn't realize my comfort level with it. Well, I didn't realize that it was a weird thing. Maybe that's the best way to say it. And I didn't realize it until like my senior year, our English teacher did these things called 2-minute talks, where you
Mm.
would go down, she would just go down the list of kids, and every day it would be one or two people, and you just had to get up in front of the class and talk for 2 minutes. It didn't matter what it was about. You didn't have to plan anything. You just had to get up and talk, you know. And that's when I realized I was like, awesome. Like I'm gonna get points for this. Like you know, like that's not an issue. And my all my friends were like terrified of this, you know, terrified of getting up in front of people. And so then I kind of realized it's kind of for a while it was kind of like a superpower. Like I had a in college I took this I was taking a class and we had to do a group project which nobody likes. Like I don't nobody enjoys that, especially at college where everyone's coming from different places, whatever. And so I remember the professor saying, you do not all have to speak during the presentation. You just all have to show me that each person did their fair share of the project." And like a light bulb went off in my brain. And so the first I was commuting too, so I wasn't on campus. And so the first time that our group met, I said, "Hey, if everyone's cool with it, I am happy to do all of the talking. No one else needs to, like, if you don't want to do any, you don't have to. If you guys just get me the information, then I will do all of the talking." And they thought I was doing them a favor. That, you know, and I was so pumped because I realized like, oh my goodness, you guys are doing all of the work for this presentation, and I just have to I just have to give the information to people. And so that's been one of the cool things as I've gotten older is like I just realized that that's a giftedness that I have. And like I can take information and present it to people in a way that they are going to understand it. And yeah, so that's just been it's been a cool thing to see how God has used that to be like, okay, so you're able to do this. Now you're going to do it in this way. And yeah, and I mean, that was one of the great things about coming back to youth ministry is like, I love the fact that I'm able to teach every week. Like that's something that I really enjoy doing and something that I really missed. So yeah, God calls all kinds of different people to do different things. And, I'm thankful, that I'm able to use gifts in that way.
Oh, yeah, ministry
Nice.
likes to be a blessing in disguise. Sometimes it's different and a good perspective people instead of pouring in for yourself, you're pouring out in a weird way, and then you kind of get to flex different muscles. It's fun, but ministry isn't also for everyone. I think that's another thing in church. Everyone like thinks you have to be some part of ministry too, and there has to be a calling, and sometimes the ministry might not even be in the church, which I
Yeah, yeah, I've run into that. I mean, and even the phrasing, I think that's again something within Christian culture is like whenever we say that someone is in ministry, that means that they're doing it as a job or full time.
mhm.
So we've kind of taken this word and applied it, or we use it in a way that it's not necessarily the way that it's used in scripture, right? So
Yeah.
like we're all doing ministry,
Yeah.
we're and so. Yeah, everyone's called to it. Not everyone's called to it in this specific way.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Not everybody has it vocationally.
Correct.
There's that too. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Is there anything else we want to talk about? It's in that hour mark.
Mhm. I mean, anything else you want to talk about, John?
Oh yeah.
Nothing, I mean, nothing that comes to mind. I think like I said, I just appreciate the conversation, and I think that it is another thing um, that you don't get a lot with social media. I was just thinking about
Yeah.
that. I've joked with some people about like if I ever start a podcast, it's literally going to be so that I can have people on that I know from social media that I just never get to talk to. Like, and that it's such a weird world where like I have people that I've met through social media, like other creators that I would consider friends that like if I was going through something that I would be able to call and talk to and they'd help me out however they could. And also I've never had like an actual conversation with them. Like like just like face to face, like what we're doing right now. One of them, he doesn't need a shout out because he's absolutely killing it right now. But um, Ben Kessler, the Lord's Giant,
Mm.
is incredible. But I kind of connected with him early on because I just realized I saw someone that was like doing things that were very similar to what I was doing, like in a great way. And so he and I started this relationship and have sent voice memos back and forth, and I'll check in with him every once in a while. But again, like I've never had a conversation with, like never had like a phone conversation, anything like that. So I think that's the thing that I want. Like I
Mhm.
want to be able to have those conversations and to be able to talk to people about why they do what they do, and how they do it in the process and things like that. So all of that to say, like I appreciate this. I appreciate the platform and I appreciate you guys reaching out. It's cool to be able to talk about these things for more than a minute and a half.
Oh yeah.
So
And it's I think it's one of the great things about the advent of technology and just social media where there's people that you wouldn't think would interact with each other be able to interact in different formats. I think that's one thing we've talked about this before, where it's been like something I think in the church that's missing because there's social media and there's just people in church that don't understand social media enough to utilize that. Again,
Yeah.
there has to be that calling. There has to be that person that's like, I'm gonna do this. And I know there are churches out there like they have a social media page and it's them making content on that more than just posting a clip from the sermon from Sunday or Wednesday.
Right.
Like they have like a whole team. I think that's how I don't know how fully like the Sunday Cool Teas guys like they just did it as like a social media experiment for like a
Yeah, that's where
t-shirt
this comes
company.
from. I love
Oh,
those.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like it just became them kind of riffing on uh Christian stuff and just having like making fun content that
Yeah.
at face value might not think Christian content until you dig a little deeper and you watch a few more of their other videos and like you view it that way. I think that's like a really cool thing. Like from this or from like other content that's out there. And
Hmm.
I think there's something that's in the church like more recently like people have noticed, like especially young people. They're like, "Oh, maybe my calling isn't like being on the stage, but maybe it's behind the scenes on the social media. But oh, wait, no, it's not behind the scenes. Now I'm in front of the camera. I'm making
Yeah.
content. Like it's like this fun growth that's happening that you see especially from young people like in their 20s that like they get out of high school, they get out of college, like they're like, "Well, what am I doing now?"
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that, maybe I don't want to drone on too long, but one thing that you just said there that I think is great is the idea of creating not not necessarily creating Christian content, but being a Christian who creates
Creates
content.
content.
Yes.
And so they're, the Sunday Cool guys are a great example. Um, I think like maybe the biggest example is like the Dude Perfect guys. That, like
Yes.
for years they were just creating content, um, and there were kind of little things here and there, but there have been so many people that have kind of done that and then have been a little bit more bold in their faith that I have thought like that makes so much sense. Like that makes so much sense that like when the Dude Perfect guys were talking more and more about their faith, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like based on just the way that you present yourselves and how you do all of this. And so there's something to be said for that too. Like and I've seen people say like, well, if you have a page, like, why aren't you talking about Jesus? Why aren't you? And like, you definitely can. And I would say that if it's a true representation of who you are, then that comes through in some way. But like, if you are a Christian wanting to do social media, that's not what it has to be. Like, it does not have to be this, explicitly Christian where Jesus is mentioned every video. Like, show people who you are and what you love. Um, and that will come through. Like those are the people that I enjoy the most is just people that are so clearly authentically themselves. And and again, Jesus comes through in that for sure. But I think a lot of times I know I have like people will put so much pressure on themselves to make sure that their video is, I don't know, even know how you want to say it, that it's Christian enough for people. And just like, yeah, I mean, just, sometimes you throw a video on about backing into a parking spot and that's funny. And it doesn't have to be about, you don't have to mention your faith every single time. So I think that's a big thing that I would encourage people on is like, if you want to do it, just try it. Like just don't feel like you have to um get all of this stuff ready. You don't need to have all of this different stuff. Like some of the people that I love the most and people that are doing great are literally people that just record themselves on their phone wherever they're at saying what they're thinking and then that's it. And that can definitely be enough. So yeah, so I just thought about that when you mentioned the Sunday Cool guys. Like it's one of the cool things about Christianity is that um, there are so many different types of people created in different ways with unique abilities and skills and passions and all of that. And I think that even in the social media world, um, we should reflect that. And there's room for everyone at that table. So
Yeah, there's a place for over Christianity versus like if you're like you got like your TBN, your Trinity Broadcasting, like you're over Christianity, but there's some people that are be very against that. for whatever reason, whether they just never grew up in church, or maybe they had church hurt, or in some fashion something happened, versus you just being you.
Yeah.
Because someone's gonna maybe read you more than they read a Bible ever in their life.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and
if you know,
I think that's where the relatability comes in, and a word that I use often um whenever I'm talking about whether it's social media or preaching or whatever it is like, yeah, the gospel is deep, and there are so many different places to go, and so many, always even learning new things, but it should also be approachable. And I think that sometimes, we can get into the danger of like, especially in my world, in kind of in the Reformed world, the, Presbyterian, whatever you want to say, is like the temptation is to make it so academic, that you start losing people, and that's one of the things that I always try, even with my own content, is like, I even if I'm talking about things, convictions or, more serious things, like I still want that to be relatable, and I want it to be approachable. And my satire might push some buttons here and there, but whenever I'm speaking on the gospel, like I want that to be something that reads as this is something that people can be a part of and people can listen to without it being judgmental, as much as possible. So yeah, that's a good thing.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Your satire has always been fun. I try not to put too many comments in there just to if you say you don't rage bait with the comments, but occasionally it's like, oh, I just turn the sarcasm up to 10 and
To
it's
Yeah,
like,
well,
11.
it's like, man, it's amazing. It's just amazing what God can use. And
yeah.
I'll let this be my last story, but my wife and I worked at a summer camp together. Well, we met at a summer camp, and at the end of the year, they would always do end of the summer. They would do these things where you could go around and sign things for people, like that they could take home with them. And so one year they had different just small descriptions, like descriptors of people on those papers. And one of them, I'll never forget this. One of them on mine said sarcasm for Jesus. And I was like, you want to talk about a badge of honor? I was just like, yeah, thank you. Like, thank you for getting me and seeing me. And so now, to have a place where it's like, oh, I can kind of use this. Like, I can use these kind of these witty things or these commentary type things and like actually do something with them rather than it just be kind of in an aside in a conversation I'm having with someone. So, yeah, and I will never tell people like you have to agree with all of it or you have to like all of it or you have to, I get that. And there are certainly things that I come across that are, more directed in my, more in my direction. And sometimes I respect it. I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know, I don't agree with what you're saying, but this was really well done. And so hopefully I'm able to take it as well as I can dish it. But
Yeah.
it's a good time for sure.
Is there anything else we want to touch on, or is that? I think it's a good ending note. Unless you want to talk about anything else. Oh yeah, okay. John, do you want to promote anything? You got anything like your social media?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, TikTok and Instagram, John the Messenger. You can check out. I have a link tree in my bio that has links to all those places. Facebook too. I'm trying to grow on there. Then the other thing I'll shout out is it's Anointed beard oil company that I've been working with, and guy's name is Juan, and he is fantastic. It's a very like small business type thing, but a great Christian guy with like legitimately good beard products. Like I would, honestly, like it may be the best that I've come across. So I want to give him a shout out too, because it's really good stuff, and I know he's trying to grow. So there's a link to his stuff in my link tree as well. You can go check that stuff out. But it's if you're in need of that, or you know someone who is, I would highly recommend them. And yeah, I think that's it. I think just the social media stuff for now. If there's anything else, then I'll give you guys a shout so I can come back on and promote promote
Nice.
something.
Do we need to get
Uh,
Doc some? Do we could all match?
Yeah, yeah,
No, well,
it's
the
good.
Lord has not blessed me with facial hair. I can't. Mine grows in like the how to say this, like Mr. Dirte
Oh yeah,
grows in like, so it's better just to keep it shaved.
Nice.
yeah.
My brother's is kind of like that. He can kind of he can kind of do it, but it's like in patches. And I keep telling him you should just grow it out. And his wife, she's like, no, he's not doing that. So
Yeah,
it's
See,
funny.
it's the
I get the
exact
soul
opposite.
patch. I can get this, a little bit like a scruff here, and then the mustache can come in. But that's just
That's it.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the exact opposite at my house. I was a teacher for a while, and even my youth kids now, they're always like, what would we have to do to get you to shave?" And I always say like, well, the first thing you'd have to do is convince my wife, and I don't think that's going to happen. But she has softened on the idea, so now it's become kind of it's become a joke with my kids. Like my daughter, who is 11, is like, absolutely not. Like you cannot do that. So, which again, it's weird how your brain works with content. I'm like, man, if I ever do this, there would be some great videos that would come out of that. But for now, yeah, for now it's staying, and I'm trying to take good care of it. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So all of those links will be down below. I'll grab those and I'll throw them down there.
thank you.
Crad, where can they find you?
Still doing the Mary Hart Ministries and on this podcast at the moment.
Nice. You working on anything with Reinhardt Ministries, or is it just TBD?
TBD, I have a preaching date next Sunday,
Oh, nice.
so that'll be shared on probably be shared on the page. So
Nice.
check that
Heck
out.
yeah. Heck yeah. Doc, where can they find you?
You can find me on TikTok at Doc or rsdawkins84, where I'm just doing daily coming out with either Bible reading or right now I'm going through prayers of the early church, this fount of heaven.
Cool.
Nice. Heck yeah. You could find me at FT underscore fast talk food reviews. What have I worked on? Today has just been a blur of a week. I can't remember anything I've done. Oh, because I was just sipping on the podcast, the new Monster that's out. So the third Lando Norris flavor they've done that's not at Dollar Tree. It's actually in actual retail. They didn't just front load all at Dollar Tree this year. That's what they've done with the last two ones they've done. I think that's about it. Again, I was telling Doc before I had a really crazy work week, so I don't remember anything. So today has felt like the only I've like sat down and actually like been able to work on anything. But yeah, this is episode 59. There are three things we don't talk about: pizza, politics, and what's the P for this one? Let's see.
Pescatarians.
Pescatarians. There we go.
Pescatarians, there you go.
There we go. That's a great way to. Man, too bad Silly wasn't
Oh,
here
it's-
for that.
I mean,
That was
it's
usually
perfect. It's
his-
a perfect thing to talk about, not to talk about on during lunch, right?
Oh, it is Lynn. That's funny. I
That's
forgot about
funny.
Lynn.